So I just got a long video, so what about the next book? Let's just talk about the fact that Jesus is. How do we get accepted by Jesus? Well, yeah, like I said before. Yeah, okay. So basically, if you can basically divide water, that's where we're on. If we can divide water, and not by tools, but by faith, and then we can certainly move mountains if we can do that. By dividing rivers and causing a huge flow of rivers to come forth and divide. Another thing that people get confused on is, well, in what way do we get rid of demons? Seems like with me, it's just any way possible. But another way you can do it, just bringing holy fire, down upon them, rip them apart, anything that will, make the demon scream and run away. Especially if it's on yourself. I think it's easier to do it on well, never mind. It's hard to do on yourself than someone else. But it's easier to spot on yourself than someone else. If someone else says, I have this and that, first pray and then believe them. Then pray against the spirit inside of them. And first you have to know, well, what spirit is it? What's his name? Tell me your name and all that. And then he will tell you. And then carry on like you always should carry on. And as another church question answer is that, is it specific for a certain person? Well, it can be for everyone. Except they would have to have good skill on that part. That's all we need to have. Good skill. And alright. Well, let's see what's next. So basically, tree of life. Yeah, I said that on the first part. Yeah, Jesus is the root of tree of life. That's all I can say. He's basically the root, and everyone comes off of that root, just like a pine tree. Just like a pine tree. Except he was more like an olive tree, where everyone just came off of that root. Like the roots of him, and then the branches of him. Like he's the main root and main part of the tree, and everyone's the branch. And he's pretty much deeply rooted. Anyone that's deeply rooted is basically, literally, like, the main source of freedom for everyone. And anyone that is teaching of the Bible is very much trustworthy. If they're confused by certain areas, and you don't understand what they are talking about, or if they're talking about certain aspects of the Bible and that someone else says something else different, just look at the Bible, and if it says something else different in the Bible, don't believe that person, because he's not deeply rooted, if you know what I mean. And deeply rooted means correct, and will send you to heaven. That's all that means. I mean, symbolic. If it's symbolic, Jesus will really. All you need to do is, if it's symbolic and if Jesus doesn't talk about it, pray to get answers from that, because it takes certain knowledge to know certain certain aspects of the Bible in symbolic aspects of the Bible as well. Because deeply rooted might mean some other language, might mean something else in an old language that it's just symbolized, and basically it's an old part of the language. Because deeply rooted actually means there's another language to that in deeply rooted. Like, let's say they're talking about farming and they want something deeply rooted. Well, Jesus did talk about that as, you being deeply rooted because you had no rocks, no thorns, nor did you have a pathway. You just had a perfect soil for that kind of thing, and that's called deeply rooted. Now, where was I? Anyone that is believing in the word of Jesus and believing in the truth, anyone that basically believes in the truth and only the truth and does not get caught up in worries or forgets things, or what I mean by forgetting about things is basically forgetting about things that were taught earlier because you're looking at worldly things, or the devil snatches it up from you because you don't like it. Anything like that. And that's just the facts, Oh yeah, it's what the farmers were knowing about when they said deeply rooted. That meant that, farmers were planting trees in the perfect soil because they knew that deeply rooted meant perfect soil. And, when you are a farmer, you know what deeply rooted means. But if it's in another language, deeply rooted might mean something else, but to mean the same thing. What I mean by that is that when it's something that's deeply rooted, it is a farm-based. It's a language that is farm-based and not in terms of modern-day language. That's all we can tell by now. So anything like that, like deeply rooted, that's basically farm-based. And all of that is farm-based or market-based. All of that, indeed. So, it's getting dark out. I think this will be my last video. And, know the symbols, know the Bible that's pretty much literal and spiritual. And it's not really symbolic, but it's all basically, old-fashioned, farm-based, deeply rooted into the truth by God, and not really meant for, let's say, electronics and all that. Nothing involving Satan, but really something that's meant for markets and farms. That's all it's meant to be all about. It's also talking about kings and kingdoms. It's talking about it's also talking about priesthood and all that, and behaviors of people. That's all the Bible's really talking about. That's all. And I'll be done now, okay? Alright.